You're listening to Live Wild Radio, the part-time adventure podcast.
Join us as we explore how outdoor adventures build mind, body, and spirit.
And we'd like to thank today's sponsor, Great Lakes Gear. It's where we've gotten all of our kettlebells. We got our pull-up bar, and you can get dumbbells and all that type of stuff. They're a Canadian company that does, really well-made cast iron kettlebells, but they also do competition bells now. So great company, a lot of fun to work with. We've been using their gear for years. Pretty much our entire gym is Great Lakes Gear equipment. So very rugged, and stands up to me sweating all over it. Never rusted. So that powder coat finish is standing up quite well on all of our kettlebells. And the great thing is, as a listener of this podcast, if you go to greatlakesgear.com and use promo code LIVEWILD at checkout, you get 10% off. And that ain't nothing, because if you're buying a whole bunch of, gym equipment or squat rack or kettlebells, that can get to be a bit of money. A very wise investment. It's a great investment in yourself. That's sort of the way we look at it. But, we've got thousands of dollars of, weights in the basement. And being able to save on them, because we had to pay full retail, because we can't use our own promo code. Kind of a bummer, huh? But yes, if you use promo code LIVEWILD at checkout at greatlakesgear.com, save 10% and get some great exercise equipment and kettlebells to do the workouts you're going to hear about in the episodes. So, yeah, thank you guys for both listening, and thanks Great Lakes Gear for sponsoring the show. Welcome back to Live Wild Radio, the fitness and adventure podcast. Notice a little change in the tagline. Last episode, I talked about exercise being the most powerful prescription. There is no prescription drug that will give you the improvements to your health and longevity as much as exercise. That's a paraphrased quote from Dr. Peter Attia, who's a longevity specialist. He's a medical doctor. And his whole practice is on having people live longer better. And, the big takeaway you get from all of his research and all of the research I've done myself, because we're researching the same shit, like we're reading the same studies, is, exercise is super powerful for weight management. Cool thing, this is just a small little tangent before we get talking about today's topic, but it turns out in studies, exercise will support weight loss, but doesn't directly cause weight loss, if that makes any sense. That's basically the biggest thing with that is diet, which is just eating fewer calories than you're burning. Now, exercise can be one of the components of the burning part, and building muscle in particular, because muscle is metabolically active tissue, whereas fat is not. So you run into the thing, if you build some muscle and lose body fat, you can end up with a higher resting metabolic rate than when you began. Whereas if you just lose weight, so some of it, maybe the majority, but some of it's coming from fat, some is coming from muscle, when you hit that target weight, aside from not looking that great, because muscle is what makes you look good, you'll run into the thing where you'll actually be settling at a lower resting metabolic rate, which means to not gain weight, you're going to have to eat fewer calories because you've lost some muscle. So that's why sort of the exercise part of weight loss, the most important part is building some muscle. And then, obviously adding to your caloric burn by just being active. But in the research, it shows exercising helps you keep it off. Right. And that's lots of people lose weight, right? far fewer people are as successful at keeping it off, right? Because anybody can stay motivated for 4, 6, 8, 12 weeks, right, to lose some weight, but life gets in the way. So unless you've got practices in place and habits in place that you maintain once you've settled into a weight that you're happy with, you're going to run into the thing. It's super easy to gain it back. If you fall into the habits that got you there to begin with. And that segues perfectly into the topic of this episode. Because last episode I talked about sort of the change in emphasis on this podcast, from adventure with some fitness to fitness with some adventure. And what brought that about is just talking to a lot of middle-aged people who should be, they're successful in life at their jobs, they're good parents, all of the things that are really important, but they feel like a bag of shit. When you look at yourself after the shower in the mirror naked, you're like, ugh. And I don't cast aspersions. I'm just putting myself in your shoes because I've been there, where you just go, man, I'm so glad that I've got other qualities because my girl ain't with me because what I look like, and I think it's a thing that we all run into is if you don't feel confident in your body, you don't feel confident in life and the things you do, right? So it's not just that the cosmetics matter, although the things that we tend to associate with improving the cosmetics, which is being leaner, having some muscular development, curves, as you will, really comes from, not only do you look better, but you feel strong, you're energetic. You go from feeling like a sloth to a panther. And one of the hard parts everybody has, or at least all the clients I've worked with and all the people I talk to, it's first steps. It's getting started. One of my goals as a coach is to get you to the point you don't need me. If, after a certain amount of time working with me, you go, man, thank you, but I can do this on my own now. To me, that is the biggest sign of success. It's not the greatest thing for business. Obviously, you want people to keep, booking your services. But the reality is there's no shortage of people that need help improving their health, improving the way they look, improving the way they feel, improving their health markers. So the way I look at it, it's I can only work with so many people. So it can be, if I was to retain the same clients, that's wonderful. But I think in the long term, there's more of a ripple effect that can actually happen, is that if I educate my clients to the point where they don't need me, then one of the great things we run into is that it allows me to do that with more people. And so that's what as a trainer, that's what my business goal is, is to get you to the point you don't need me. Because there's no shortage of people that need guidance and help and motivation and support on this journey, because it's simple, but it's complicated, right? There's a lot of stuff to sort of boxes to check to sort of optimize. And that's why, the topic of this episode is a program I've put together called the Gen X Transformation Program, aimed, and I realize this is slightly out of the actual demographic, but people that are super picky about this stuff can go jump in a lake. Just for simplicity's sake, I'm calling it 40 to 60-year-old people. I'm tagging that Gen X. I realize some of it might be a tiny bit of baby boomers and some of it might be a tiny bit of millennials. But I don't care. I like the square number. And This is my people. It's my generation. People that grew up, on a weekend, you got kicked out of the house. You drank from the garden hose. We didn't have our play sets, weren't nerfed. You had that slide that reached the temperature of the sun when you slid down and burned the back of your legs, and we'd still do it. We'd build like Tarzan swings over the creek and get in neighborhood, fort building in the woods. And, we were feral children. It's vastly different from the helicopter parenting that happens now. We're trying to make our kids a little bit more feral. No, get out, go out of the house, go do something, make friends, because I think one of the things, the hallmarks of our generation is independence. We learned how to do shit on our own. And so those are the people I'm talking to in this episode. Obviously, if you're not in that demographic, feel free to listen. We're amusing. But what I want to do with the Gen X transformation program is give people the tools to turn back the clock 20 years. I want you to feel good. I want you to look good. I want you to walk in a room because think of it like those of you who are in business and you've got to do presentations. When you walk in and, if you're a guy, you're in a suit and it's obvious, like you're stretching your jacket out, and, it's one of these things where, if you're anybody that wears a t-shirt in the pool because you don't want to take your shirt off anymore, those types of things, you're not going to have the level of confidence you did or you would when you're in shape, And so basically we're running into that thing where if you walked in and you had to have your suits tailored because your waist's small but your shoulders are big, and you move like you own the place, what do you think your outcomes in the presentations and sales pitches and everything that you're doing, what do you think the outcomes would be, right? Because we've all seen people, the ones who are in really good shape, they ooze a confidence, right? And it's not anything special. They just put the work in. And so one of the things I've done, and this has been over the last bunch of months, is putting this program together. It's a 3-month program where you go from couch to hero. And it's not a guarantee, depending on, your level of current fitness. You might not accomplish all of your fitness goals in the 3 months, but some people might, right? I've had some massive success. Like we've beta tested this on a ton of people. And one of the big things that we've run into is taking people from who, not exercising regularly. Because if you're somebody that exercises regularly, but you just want to make it better, we've got programs for that, right? Like if you go to our website. But with this particularly, the idea is, you're not happy with where you are. You're ready to make a change. And, you're really kind of starting from ground zero. We have very time-efficient workouts. We start with very low dose. You might have heard the phrase minimum effective dose. Tim Ferriss is a big fan of that one, so am I, because if you do what you need to do but nothing more, right? Because as you get stronger and fitter, you're going to have to do more to get stronger and fitter again. So why do any more in the beginning than you have to? So we run into the thing where it's super, super time efficient, is aiming to optimize with the least amount of time spent as many health markers as we can, with tools that are easy to implement. and habit forming things that are easy to implement. And that, I think, for so many people can be life changing, because a lot of, like my buddy Ryan, he's been on the podcast before. The reason why he never lifted weights before is he would go into a gym and just find it overwhelming. I don't know what the fuck to do. Right. And he'd look online and there's like a million different programs and there's bodybuilding and there's this and it's like, I don't know what to do. Well, 8 months ago, I just started him on a simple program. This is what you do. It's 4 days a week. Boom, 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 boom. Right. Just you set the timer, do the work. Over time, strive to do more work. Simple, double kettlebell, clean and press, double kettlebell front squat, pull-ups. That was like 90% of his program, was just those 3 movement patterns. And you wouldn't recognize him now, right? Like, it's like, oh, look, muscles. Oh, look, guts gone. Oh, look. And all it was is just he punched the clock. One of the things I want everybody to think about, like when it comes to working out, treat it like a job. Just go in and punch the clock. Get it done, right? If you're somebody who's been fairly successful in anything in life, you didn't get there by half-assing it, phoning it in, not showing up, right? Like that's the recipe to get fired. Well, the thing is, when it comes to fitness, you get fired from life at a certain point because your body falls apart. What we want is job security when it comes to being alive and healthy. I think I'm stretching this analogy a little far, but either way. So the idea behind this program is to start off just learning fundamental movements, because if you're coming from the couch, you haven't been exercising regularly, just learning the movements is going to get you in better shape, right? And we've done this it's a 3-month program with 3 1-month or 4-week stages, right? So you run into the thing where, month 1 is education, right? And you'll get in better shape with my education. Month 2 is intensification. We ramp it up a little bit. We try to strive for more, right? And because you're a newbie, you're going to get the newbie gains. And if you're somebody who's been in shape before, you've had muscles before, there's this awesome thing called muscle memory. It's much quicker to get back in shape than it was to get in shape the first time. I'm not going to get into the whole thing with satellite cells and, what have you. But once you've been in shape, it doesn't take as much to get back there. And then the 3rd month is the accumulation phase. This is where we kind of add to the fitness, add to the muscle build, and because you're getting fitter, you can do more work in the set amount of time. And when you combine those 3 phases from a training standpoint with a very straightforward, easy to adopt nutritional strategy, ideas for improving sleep, improving stress or decreasing stress. We don't want to improve your stress. We want to improve your stress response. You get those 4 things lined up, right? Dial in your exercise, right? Minimum effective dose. As you acclimatize to it, that dose will go up, but we can still keep it pretty short windows. Then, manageable nutrition habits. 99% of the people who come to me, one of the goals is to lose body fat. And the techniques we use nutritionally can adapt to any type of diet. If somebody likes keto, if somebody likes paleo, if it's donuts, then yeah, we're not going to quite adapt there. But we understand it doesn't have to be perfect to make progress. Perfect is the enemy of good. I forget who said that one. But a good plan executed consistently, like getting an A grade 80% of the time will still make you progress, right? One of the things we need to get away from is this all or nothing mentality, right? I don't have an hour, so I'm not going to work out at all. I ate a donut, so the whole day's a write-off. It's either you did it perfect or you completely failed, right? That's not the path to success, right? We're going to have those flub ups, right? One of the things I want to see people do is actually go out for dinner. Try to make like a moderately smart choice, but even if you don't, going out for dinner once a week isn't wrecking everything, right? If we get a few little things in place, where we're reducing the sugar intake a little bit, maybe narrowing the eating window a little bit, they're just all things we need to nudge you in the right direction in a way that you can actually sustain. Because if you're somebody who's overweight, you didn't get overweight overnight. So you're not going to lose it overnight, right? So the whole thing we want to do in this program is also give you the habits that, can carry you forward. If after the 3-month program, somebody wants to book a different program with me or ongoing coaching, that's cool. But, the idea is when you are done the 3 months, you've got a toolbox of your own. You understand movements, you understand the things that are important. You understand the benefit of just daily activity. Something is so simple as if you if you walk for 10 minutes after every time you eat, it is statistically more effective than taking the diabetes drug metformin and lowering your blood sugar. When I talked about exercise being the most powerful prescription, it is, right? Empirically, it's been tested. So we just run into that thing of getting little health habits in place, little reminders, making use of technology. Like one of the things that really makes this work well is I use an app to coach my clients online. So, you put the app on your phone. What you're supposed to do that day pops up. When you do it, you just mark it off. And when you're actually doing the workout, they're just sort of work along. Literally you just do what what it tells you. It's not even that you just have to read it and do, but you hit play and it will take you through. Okay, you're doing 30 seconds of this now. And now you're resting. And now at the top of the minute, you're ready to go with this. Just super, super simple to execute. So you don't have to think, you just have to do. And over time, you'll get stronger. You'll feel better. In my case, like a lot of my joint aches and pains that I got from training really heavy with barbells disappeared. So the idea is to more well-round you and give you those tools so that, and listen, I only got 15 minutes. Oh, well, I'm just going to do, we've got like a little workout menu. So you just boom, 15 minutes, right? If that's all you got, you got half an hour menu, so it makes it really, really simple. And then every time you do a workout or don't do a workout, I see it in the app. So then it's a thing where we're able to touch base. We're able to have, online video chats. You can message me. Hey, I'm not sure how to do this, or I tried this exercise and it's a little uncomfortable. Is there a suggestion, like a different one? Or I don't have these tools or what have you, right? Like usually when people sign up, we've got the intake, so we know what you've got. But by just, punching the clock, treating yourself like somebody who matters, right? Because fundamentally, you need to feel that you matter, and one of the things that we always think about, like Catherine and I, is what kind of parents are we going to be to the kids if we're useless and out of shape? You know, what are we going to be like with each other if it's just like, you know, like what brought us together was that sense of fun and adventure. And that's sort of one of those things that we strive to maintain in our relationship, and being attractive to each other. You know, it's not the only motivation, but it's one of them where it's like, quite honestly, I'd much rather her go, man, you look good, you know, than not say anything because she's polite, you know, or, hey, you want to go for a walk or maybe go for a bike ride or something? Looks like you could use some exercise. No, do you really need that portion? You know? So it's that kind of thing where finding those little whys that will get you started and sustain you. You know, for us, there's a bunch of different things. There's things we like to do, like we like to rock climb and mountain bike and backpack and all this kind of thing, and it's better when you're in better shape. We want to set a good example for the kids. You know, in 10, 15 years, when they're adults, we want to be able to do stuff with them and not be, I remember back in the day when I could do stuff like that, but no, it's too much for me. We don't want to be those people. You know, plus I'm 52 now. You know, at some point, I'm never going to retire because I like the shit I do. But at some point, there's like retiring. Well, I want to be able to do stuff. Like, one of the problems so many people run into is by the time they've accumulated enough wealth that they can live off of, and reach that point that, you know, they're going to retire, they got nothing left in the tank, right? They're sore, they're fat, they're tired all the time. A lot of times there's all sorts of health problems, you know, because if you think about retirement at 65, well, it's like, to me, it's one of the biggest jips in life of, hey, now you got tons of free time and no energy to do anything in it. You know, it's like the work system is like, okay, we've milked everything out of you we can. Now we're putting you out to pasture, right? Like, to me, that's not the idea of retirement. Retirement is, okay, kids are taken care of. They're off, you know, adulting now. And we're able to have much more free time to go on adventures and see things and travel. But that takes energy. It takes fitness, right? And so that's one of our goals, is to be fit enough that we can continue to do the things we want to do well into our old age, right? When the grandkids come along, you know, I want to be, you know, the one where the grandkids are like, my granddad's so strong. You know, it's like, I don't know, the old man just never gets tired. It's like some weird thing he's got, you know. That's what I want. You know, I want to be vital, and be alive and be able to experience everything life has to offer, versus, you know, a very small gas tank that you run out of fuel quickly. So that's my concept behind the Gen X transformation program. The idea of giving you the tools you need to make a lasting, real change to your health, your fitness, and because of that, the whole life. Like, when you start accomplishing things, there's this awesome snowball effect, right? You start accomplishing, you get stronger, you feel better. And one day you're just like, I kick ass, right? Like, you just feel good. You know, you've got that zest back, right? And then you start getting compliments. Man, you're looking good. You know, I don't care who you are. If you haven't heard that in years, and all of a sudden, you know, and I'll tell you, like, when I dropped 25 pounds in the last couple of years, I'm seeing people I hadn't seen in years, and they're like, wow, you're in really good shape, man. Looking good. Well, I'll tell you, it does not hurt to hear that. It's like, thank you. You know, I'm not a great one for compliments personally. Compliments and gifts I have a hard time with. Some weird Gen X thing, right? We don't deserve don't feel we deserve anything that we didn't get ourselves. Blame our parents. But, when you do hear that, it's like, oh, thank you, and inside you're like, oh, I'm smiling. Especially, and I don't know, because I can only speak as a guy, but as a guy, we don't give very many compliments. It doesn't happen that often, right? And so it's one of those things when you've put the effort in and you've made a change, man, that shit is fuel. That is fuel. Because the reality comes in, like when I was sort of at my thickest, we'll say, I ran into the thing where it was just like I didn't feel bad in my day-to-day life, but I wasn't going to like go to the beach with my shirt off, right? It was like I was this like hairy, fat, pale guy. Now I'm still hairy, but, it's one of those things. It's like I'm knocking on the door of abs. And don't worry, abs are not the goal. It's sort of being sort of healthy and strong. Abs, depending on your body type, can be a miserable thing to get to because you pretty much have to starve yourself to get there. I've been there a few times. If you want to get there, I can guide you how to get there, but that's not my personal goal. It's be lean enough that when your shirt's off, you'll go, like, are you a lumberjack or something? Like you look like you're formidable, like you can do some work. But I don't care if I look like an oiled up fitness model, if that makes any sense. So if you guys find this interesting and want to learn more, if you go to Live Wild Radio, you'll see the button for fitness coaching. You can find out more about the program. You can sign up for the program if you're interested. We'll put a link in the description for the show, in the show notes. And then we will go from there, because one of the things outside of obviously, having the program that you can pay to participate and have me be your coach, one of our goals is to put out enough stuff. Like if you guys don't want to, spend the money, whether you can't afford it, you're not interested, what have you, we're going to put out information both on the website, on our Facebook page, in the podcast, that will give you the tools to get started, get moving, get improving, because fitness is not complicated, right? It shouldn't be. If you're not training for the Olympics, you don't need this super complicated, periodized, double progression, macro and meso cycles and all this kind of stuff. It's cool. As a coach, it's fun. But that's not what the majority of people need. My goal is to turn you all into people that have the work capacity of farmers and bricklayers, and I'm talking old time farmers where you're tossing hay bales and, humping bricks and, you've got that lumberjack strength. You're strong. You can work all day. You feel good. I'm not saying they feel good, but, a lot of that's pretty hard on the body after a while. But that kind of work capacity and strength endurance. And there's no way around it. To get there, you've done a lot of work. It burns a lot of calories, so it burns a lot of fat. You build a bunch of muscle over time. And you just end up being a different human being, because you can be the one that walks in the room and nobody sees you, or you walk in the room and everybody turns their head. And it's up to you which one you want to be. So until next time, I'm Winston. This is Live Wild Radio, the Fitness and Adventure podcast. And don't forget to work hard and play dirty.